Have you ever struggled to recover after receiving critical feedback? Have you ever had trouble balancing your personal life with other responsibilities? I think we're about to 5 for 5. Have you ever found it difficult to maintain focus or motivation in school or at work? Alright, so we're all in the same boat. I think most of us can relate to each of these situations, right? So the reality of life is that we cannot avoid every challenge, every setback, every failure, every mistake. It's impossible. We can't do it. But we can learn how to fail better. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up as an athlete. I played sport. I grew up in a neighborhood of boys, so it felt a little bit inevitable. But I grew up, basketball was my main sport. And when I was going to college, looking to play, do we have any athletes in here? Raise your hand if you're an athlete. I saw one head nod. All right. So when I was looking to go to college, I didn't understand anything about recruiting, and I knew I was good enough to go Division I. I was like, I'm going D1. I had schools who were looking at me. I was in communication with them. And then I had one summer where I was really insecure, and I felt the pressure, and I crumbled under it a little bit, and some of those big schools that I was looking at dropped me. So then I freaked out. I was like, what am I going to do? And I ended up going to a Division II school, which was nationally ranked. They were the national championship game the year before I got there. So very, very high level, but it was still a hit to my ego. I was like, was I good? I knew I was good enough. I had offers even later to play overseas, but that was a really big challenge for me. Luckily, it ended up being the best thing for me. I loved having a small school environment. I had amazing professors who I still have relationships with now, and it really set me on the path that I am on today. I'll only tell you about another failure I had. Then I came to UT for graduate school and got my PhD here. And if you're familiar with the PhD process, you have to complete a dissertation, which is like a 100-page document of lots of years of research. I know, it sounds like not a fun time, right? It's not a super fun time. It's very difficult, and also it's very rewarding. Well, before you get to the dissertation phase, you have something called the qualifying process, where you have to propose a study and then you get grilled. So you have to take a verbal exam, you also have to take a written exam based on your study, where they're trying to prove that you know what you're doing. I failed the first time. Didn't expect it. There was things out of my control that I had to redo it, and that was a big hit to my ego. I grew up being very successful academically, very successful athletically, and I wasn't used to having something like that happen. Then I passed it, it was great. Had a good experience. Then this last one, I started my own business called Fail Better Training. And if you go into entrepreneurship, there is a lot of failure that happens there. My degree is in psychology, not in marketing, not in business. And so in terms of working with people on the content, feel great, but learning social media, marketing, making a website, finding clients, took a lot of effort and learning. So why am I telling you this? One, because I want you to know that it's normal. Also, you're going to share your failures in a second with each other. And to know that it's not about the setback. It's not about what happens to you. It's all about how do we respond to it. And there's some times where we have these failures or stressors or setbacks that we think are the worst thing ever, and they might be the best thing possible for you. Going to college and going to a Division II school was the best thing that could have happened to me. Failing that qualifying process wasn't very fun at all. It really, really knocked me down, but I actually ended up getting more support from other supervisors that I really, really needed and was looking for, but I was too scared to ask for, and I learned a lot from that process, and then started my own business, have worked a lot there. So here's what I want you to do. Growth comes outside of our comfort zone, and so if we want to get better at being more resilient today, that means that we have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable with each other. So here's what I want you to do. With a partner, you have two options. You can either talk to each other about a challenge you've had to overcome in your life, or something that you're proud of yourself for that you don't normally talk about. So find someone next to you. If you need a group of 3, you can have a group of 3, and talk to each other just for a minute about a challenge you've had to overcome, or something you're proud of that you don't normally talk about. Ready, go. And if you don't know the person, ask their name, introduce yourself. Super comfortable. So look, everyone's pretty comfortable. Sure. Great. Good. So we're going to talk a little bit about today some of the challenges that you're facing. So I want you to think right now. I want like at least 5 people to share. What are some challenges that you are currently facing in your life? Someone in the front row. We're going to start. What's the challenge you're facing?
Managing my time.
Managing your time. Great. All right, second row. What do we got? Yeah.
Changing my mentality on school.
Changing mentality on school. Good. What is the current mentality on school?
Well, before it was very, I need to get A's and
Yeah.
be high achieving. But I've gone to a lot of chats with alumni and they've been telling me that we really just network and take what stands out to you.
Cool. Great. So trying to figure out that balance of performance versus the networking and some of those other like mastery-oriented stuff. Good. All right, someone in this middle part of the room. Challenge you're currently facing. Yeah.
Finding a summer internship.
Oof. Anyone else in that same boat? Yeah, I see some head nods. All right, someone in the back of the room. Challenge you're currently facing. Yeah.
Overcoming anxiety for presentations.
Yeah, overcoming anxiety. Do you want to come up here and practice? So we're all facing some of these challenges, right? Whether you're an athlete, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a student, it doesn't matter at what point in your career, we're all facing some kind of challenges. And I want you to be thinking about whatever your particular thing is as we go through the rest of the workshop today, right? And we'll see if we can get you some skills and movement forward. This is my favorite one. She bailed. She says, I'm going to do it. No, just kidding. So, super great. Not working. Super great. Okay, on your papers, the one that does not have the grid. So this front part of this paper, the one that doesn't have the little table. If you have something to write with, that would be great. If not, you can put this in your phone. So what I want you to do on that very first prompt, this is your like little bit of a vent session. This first part of the prompt, I want you to think about some of those current challenges that you're facing or mistakes that you've made recently. So have you procrastinated something? Did you not do as well on an exam? Did you think about doing something and then you didn't? Just jot down maybe like 3 or 4 things. A setback that you faced recently, a challenge, a mistake, something in this realm. Write down maybe 3 or 4 different things on that first prompt. Challenge, setback, failure. Alright, then once you've listed out a couple, on that next prompt I want you to think, when you are experiencing this setback, traffic in Austin, procrastinating, whatever it might be, I want you to think about how do you typically respond to yourself? What's your immediate reaction? You just failed a test. Someone just said something mean to you. You had this goal and you didn't accomplish it. What's your immediate reaction in terms of self-talk? What are you saying to yourself? How are you saying it? What emotions does it bring up for you? What's your body language like right after you've made this mistake or experienced this setback? How do you typically treat yourself? make those kinds of mistakes or experience those types of setbacks, what do you say to them? Do you say when your friends come to you, they just failed a test, or someone said something mean to them, didn't accomplish a goal? What do you typically say to them, your close friends or colleagues? What's your tone like? What emotions does that bring up for you? And maybe even your body language. What's your body language like when your friends are experiencing some kind of challenge or setback? Once the people next to you seem like they're at a pause point, I want you to talk about that last question on there. What did you notice? Is it different? Do you treat yourself differently than you treat your friends and colleagues? If so, why do you think that is? Just talk in groups of like 3-ish. Of what did you notice as you did this exercise?
Thank
Raise your hand if you're meaner to your friends than you are to yourself. Do you have anyone that wants to admit that in this room? Raise your hand if it's about the same. You're just as nice or mean. Oh, alright, yeah. Because I'm so generally speaking in this room, we're harder on ourselves than we are on others, right? Now tell me, give me a couple examples of things that you say to yourself when you make a mistake that you would never say to your friends. Yeah, someone in the back that says, I'm an idiot, right? Yeah. Yeah, so well, like, I'm an idiot, or you're an idiot. I would never, if you came to me with a problem, say, well, you're just an idiot, right? Give me another thing. What's another thing you say to yourself that you would never say to your friends? Yeah.
You're not good enough.
You're not good enough. Yeah.
I would say like that was a student mistake.
I'll just, yeah. Like, what would happen? What would happen if you treated your friends the way you treat yourself? You might not have any friends, right? So now, why is this? Why is it so easy for us to be hard on ourselves than it is on other people? Sometimes people will say, well, I have high standards for myself. Well, I can control my actions, but I can't control other people's actions, right? Here's the thing though. 99% of the time, that harsh criticism is not helpful. It's automatic and it's natural, but it's not actually helping you accomplish your goals. That's the first step. We have to first recognize that, because when we're faced with a difficult situation, it puts us in this fight or flight response. We're not going to go into that today. But it's normal, it's natural, it's okay, and it's not super helpful. So we have to find a better way. Now, one way, if you catch yourself being really harshly critical, you might ask yourself, like, what piece of this, if anything, is actually helpful? That's what I would call maybe evaluation. It's great to evaluate. You didn't do so well in the test, well, let's evaluate. What went well, what didn't go so well? Right? You're applying for jobs, you're not getting anything. What's going well, what's not going well? Beating yourself up is not helpful, right? Alright, we're going to watch, I think, a couple of quick little videos. So this is going to be a sports example. I want you to think about, you watch two different examples. Both of these athletes are going to make some kind of mistake, and we want to pay attention to their response. How are they responding to this setback? And so the question I'm going to ask you is, what are the consequences or the ripple effects of their response? Alright, what are the consequences? Let's see this goes.
Down and stays from the stretch, and that goes it high to center field, pretty deep. Nigel Morgan back, near the wall, and reaches up and can't make the play. And he fires his glove towards the ground. One run is in, Adam Jones made it inside the park home run. He's being set. Here's the throw to the plate. He is saved at the plate, and inside the park home run for Adam Jones. And the Orioles now have a 4-2 lead.
Alright, what are the consequences of him getting mad and throwing his glove to the ground after he missed that play? And so the other team scored, right? Performance suffered. What else we got? How are you feeling if you're his teammate? Angry, frustrated. What if, annoyed, like I said. What if you're the other team? What are you thinking? I'm like, here it comes, I'm up next, I'm hitting it right back to this guy, right? We're in his head. Alright, we're gonna watch this other clip, then we'll come back to this. Other clip, I want you to think about the same kind of thing.
Quickly, but that's going to cost him. Lucky she wasn't injured.
Her teammate just went to the front though, so they may be able to recover from that. And Dorgan is flying down the backstretch. She is going to catch Mondor, and she may catch the leader. She's got Spawn.
This is a gutsy effort from Dorgan.
That was in 1 minute and 30 seconds. She fell on her face in a championship race and beat everyone. So, what do we learn from these two situations? We we cannot always control what happens to us. We have some influence, right? There's things that we can do to make ourselves more successful, and also how we respond to the mistakes and setbacks and stressors that we face is what's going to make all the difference. If we go back to that baseball example, let's say that the baseball player gets mad, right? But he hustles, or he misses the catch, then he misses the catch, he hustles and grabs the ball. Let's say they still score a run. How are you feeling as his teammate? Is it different? It's different. How would you feel if you're his teammate in that scenario?
How that he recovered
Yeah. You're like,
earlier.
yeah, that sucks, but like, thanks for trying. You know, it's okay, it happens. Versus the other scenario where he gave up, right? So we get to determine the impact, for the most part, that things have on us, and it can take us in two very, very different directions, right? Really like 8 million, but for simplification, we're going to go with 2. All right. So what do we do? How do we do it? Ashley, give us the solution over it. So if you flip your papers over, we're going to talk about these 4 pillars of resilience. Now, these 4 pillars, they can be used in isolation. There might be just one of these that really resonates with you, and you feel like, yes, this is a good, quick tip that's going to help me. And they're going to build on each other. So if we use them in conjunction, then that can be a really powerful tool to balance our performance and also our well-being. So when we go back to why are we so hard on ourselves, our inner critic is usually trying to help us in some way. It's trying to motivate us. It's trying to help us improve. It just isn't super effective, right? So the question becomes, can we maintain high standards for performance and also well-being at the same time? That's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So this first step is mindfulness. Raise your hand if you've heard of mindfulness before. Never heard of it? Great. So before we can do something about a situation, we have to first acknowledge one that happened and how it's affecting us. This is really, really important because a lot of times what happens is we experience some kind of setback or failure, and then we just try to move on to, well, I just need to be better, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, right? We're really quick into fix-it mode. So we have to first recognize how is this affecting me. So I've got a few different ways that you can do this, and I want you to kind of pick your own. Now the first one, I want all of you to write this one down. I want you to write down, part of me is feeling, insert your own emotion. So pick a particular challenge that you're facing right now. Applying for the summer internship, knocking the job you want, starting a website, whatever it is. And when you think about that particular challenge, think about at least one emotion, and write down, part of me is feeling blank. Discouraged, disappointed, insecure, numb, excited, hopeful. When you think about your challenge, what's one of the emotions that you're feeling? And then tell me, what's the difference between this statement, part of me is feeling frustrated, versus I am frustrated? What's the difference in how that feels? Part of me is feeling frustrated versus I am frustrated. What do you got?
It's not like defining you.
Yeah, I am frustrated is like I am frustrated, like on inside out, the fire guy, right? Like that's it. Versus part of me is feeling frustrated, it's suddenly more manageable, and it's more realistic. When our critic takes over, it just is like all flames, or whatever the emotion is. And so that's actually unrealistic, and sometimes we gotta bring it back to reality a little bit. So that's one quick little way where we're still validating the emotion, we're acknowledging it, but we're keeping it a little bit more manageable, right? Another way to apply mindfulness to this situation might be just acknowledging this is hard, or this sucks, or this is not my most favorite day, or whatever it might be. The last one could be noticing how it's affecting you in your body. I notice tension in my chest. I feel heavy. I feel jittery. Something like that can be really helpful in just acknowledging this is what's going on for me. So I want you to quickly tell a neighbor, when you think about your situation, what is one way that you could apply mindfulness? Is it just saying this is hard? Is it noticing how it's affecting you in your body? Or maybe it's noticing the emotion. Just give them one example. Ready? Tell your partner. What's one way that you can practice mindfulness with your situation? share? What's something that they would say for their situation? Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I said part of it is lost, like, was lost.
Yeah. Yeah, part of me is feeling lost. Good. What's another emotion that you would say you're also experiencing? Yeah, like part of you is lost. What's another part feeling?
Probably frustrated.
Yeah.
Frustrated is the same thing.
Yeah, it could be in there. Yeah, good, right? So we're gonna experience a lot. When we're just talking with Don, it might be like excited, hopeful, overwhelmed, frustrated, nervous. There might be a lot going on inside of us, right? Okay, good. Any questions about this? You got it down? All right. So the next piece is connection. We want to understand. There's not one great. Connection. Realizing that this is part of life. Mistakes, setbacks, challenges, it's normal. You're normal to experience those kinds of things. So I want you to think of some kind of phrase that helps you feel connected to others or even within yourself. And it could be, again, some examples here. Everyone makes mistakes. It happens. It's normal to feel this way. You might even pick someone that you admire and be like, hey, so-and-so would feel like, Kendra Scott would feel like this in this situation too, probably, right? I bet she's been frustrated or lost before as well. So write down for yourself some version of connection and maybe share it with a neighbor that helps you realize that you're not alone and it's okay to feel like this. Some examples. I'm going to come ask you for them. just doesn't work. If we can authentically boost ourselves up, right? I'm not saying this toxic positivity that's like, you're so amazing all the time, do whatever you want. That's not what we're going for. We're going with authentic, real, true encouragement. Now, once we've boosted ourselves up, we're ready to make an adjustment. This is also something that a lot of people will miss. When we're struggling, sometimes with our friends, we're like, it's fine, and we pat them on the back, say, go along, right? It's okay. We want to be able to also change and adjust so that we don't just get stuck in the same patterns. So for your particular situation, what is some kind of adjustment you could make to do better next time? So if you're feeling stressed about, there's lots of things. If you're feeling stressed about applying to internships and maybe it's making you procrastinate. Maybe it's like, hey, when I sit down to work, I'm going to take a nice deep breath, remind myself it's okay before I go work on this, right? Maybe you just failed something and your study strategies weren't great. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to ask for some help, or I'm going to reprioritize my tasks. This is what's going to help me in the future. Okay, maybe you don't know what to do and you're going to ask someone else for advice. So this could either be like a real practical, tangible strategy adjustment, or it could be a coping adjustment. How could you cope with the emotions a little bit better? All right, jot down some ideas. I'm listening. Sometimes just one of those things might help you. Just acknowledging the emotion, part of me is feeling upset, might help you feel like it's a little bit more manageable. But they build on each other. We acknowledge what's going on, we help kind of like calm ourselves down, then boost ourselves up, boost our confidence, and then make some kind of adjustment. And this can be an example of how we reset. What do y'all think about this? How could this resilient reset be helpful to you?
I feel like it can make me get to the end result faster, like our problems faster, so I'm going to be more productive.
Yeah, that's a great one. I will see the transformation I've seen within myself and with the clients that I work with. So I primarily work with athletes, and I also work with other professionals like lawyers and people in high stress situations. The biggest transformation is we're trying to minimize the time between a poor reaction and a productive response, right? So if normally, when you failed a test or you didn't get that job, if normally it would take you a week before you're able to reset from it, we want to scooch that time down to where it's only a couple days or a moment, right? You're gonna have an automatic reaction. We're just human, it's just gonna happen. But we can always reset and always make a change so that we're able to get back on that right path faster. Love it, thank you. Okay, I need a volunteer. Someone come here. Who wants to be? Someone from the back. All right, come on up. We're gonna play tennis. What's your name?
Fatima?
Fatima?
Yeah.
All right, so here's what I need you to do. You are gonna balance this tennis racket, but you can only look at your fingers. So you gotta hold it kind of high, you so you don't jump on out like I did. And I want you to do your best. Try it a few times, but you can only look at your fingers.
Move my fingers?
Yep. Yeah, you can have a couple. Or just like bounce it like this. You're gonna bounce it as long as you can, but you can only look there. Yeah. Yep, good. Look down, look down. Yep, good. Try it a few times. Good job. Try it a few times. I know, this is great. Good, good. One more time, just looking down. Alright, now do the same thing. It's hard, huh? It looks hard? Alright. Now I want you to do the same thing, but look at the top of the 10 circuit. What? Do it again. A longer run. Go as long as you can. Look at the top. Good job. Alright, can we give her a round of applause? Thank you. Alright, so which one is easier? Looking at the top, right? Looking at the top, I've done this a lot though. We can balance it all day long, right? Looking at the bottom, usually someone hits you in the face. You didn't hit yourself in the face. You got close, but you didn't, right? What do we learn from this? What do we learn from this? What do you got? Yeah. Changing your perspective can help you. It's good. On slap, right? So there's lots of ways that we can change our perspective. I'm going to give you one, and then I'm going to ask you for a couple other examples based on this. So one thing about changing our perspective is we can see things as opportunities instead of threats. Now, I'll share what this means and I'll tell you why this is important. Is anyone familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy? Some psychology people in here. So the idea is that our thoughts influence our feelings, which influence our behaviors. If I have the thought, someone give me a challenge that they're facing right now. Applying to an internship is what I remember. Applying to internships, which feels kind of stressful. If I'm going into applying for them thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get anything. I don't even know if I'm good enough for this. Probably my feelings are going to be discouragement, insecurity. Then I'm going to procrastinate. And then I might not get the thing, so it's going to reinforce this belief that I have about myself, and we go into this cycle, right? Well, if I can intervene at the thought, instead of see this as a potential threat, I'm not good enough, I could see this as an opportunity. Even just the act of applying. This is a difficult thing. I'm growing right now. Watch this, I want to apply to 500 things. I don't know where I'm going to go, but this is an opportunity. What if I get it? Right? Now if I'm thinking, this is an opportunity for me to grow. Now I'm maybe feeling a little hopeful or excited, probably still a little scared, but then I'm much more likely to get it done and work on it, and then I'm more likely to actually get to where I want to be, and now it reinforces this new cycle, right? So let me show you an example of this. Let's say you get a new anything, a new job, a new opportunity, a new class, a new situation. If we start with, I'm never going to figure this out, which is going to go into, what if I mess up? I don't want to disappoint anyone. People will think I'm bad at this. Raise your hand if you have ever had a downward spiral like this. So, especially when we end up at things like, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I will never be good enough, I don't deserve to be here, it's usually where we land in a downward spiral. If we can intervene right here, just the very, very first thought, it sends us in a totally different direction, right? So if we're able to switch, I'm never going to figure this out, to, I think I can figure it out. It's an opportunity, it's a challenge, like a good challenge, right? Now it goes, I want to keep improving. I can reach out for feedback and support, I don't have to do it all on my own. This could be a good opportunity for growth, right? Talk to your neighbors about what threat, what is some kind of challenge that you are viewing as a potential threat that's making you feel small, that you want to see as an opportunity, and then what impact could that have on you? Talk about it in your groups. You can throw them? Yep. We're getting closer. We're getting warmer.
You aim them at something.
Good. Everyone show me how you throw a paper airplane. Everyone show me how you hit a hammer. What about bow and arrow? All of them have to go backwards before you can go forwards. That's good, huh? So, let me tell you, this is my logo for fail better, right? We're trying to learn how to reset and fail better. We're going to be performing well. You're going to experience setbacks. It's going to happen. On the sports world, all the time, they just say, just bounce back, bounce back. We don't want to bounce back. We want to go forward. We want to actually use it as opportunities. Setbacks, they're not super fun to experience, but they're so good for growth. So good for growth. And we can use them as opportunities to bounce forward. We also got a circle because you're probably going to experience another one. It's going to happen. And then we have this ombre, like sunrise, sunset, start of a new day. You always have a chance to reset. Doesn't matter so much what happens to you, it's how you respond. We can learn to reset, we can learn to bounce forward, we can learn to fail better, and then, rather than resisting the change, let's just embrace it, lean into it, it's going to make it much better. All right? High five your neighbors, say thanks for talking to me today, and I think we have the QR code. Let me pull up, say I have mine, but oh yeah, if you want to learn more, we can talk more later. Here's my information. They're going to pull up a different QR code, so let me get that. But if you want to follow me or connect with me, take a picture of this, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, all the things, we'd love to connect.